Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday live stream. We are actually live, yay, again, and it has been a little while. Thank you for being patient with us as we had a very kind of crazy holiday season, and a lot of us were actually feeling ill over the winter. So it's still winter here in South Texas, but it doesn't really feel like it. And it's February. Happy February. We are so happy to be back and doing our live stream again. We do try to live stream every single Wednesday, every single first Wednesday of the month. And last month we did miss our live stream. So I do apologize that we were not feeling well. By we, I mean our household. We were kind of sick with the cold and the funk that everybody got this winter. But we are back, and we're happy to be back. I hope you guys are going to enjoy the animals that come onto the show today. We're going to have 5 animals that appear on the program today. We're going to have something for everybody. We are a mobile zoo based in South Texas, and we are called Once in a Wild. Let's go ahead and get started, you guys. Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild Wednesday. Once in a Wild is a mobile zoo based in San Antonio, Texas. We are in South Texas, of course, and we do travel to classrooms, birthday parties, all sorts of big and little events. Public or private events are totally fine with us. If you are interested in booking your own event, please contact us. You can actually reach out at onceinawild.com and request a callback or contact back, I guess. We'll contact you in return. Or you can call our number directly, which is down below, as well as on our website, onceinawild.com, and in our bio description, of course. You can probably find us either way. You are also welcome to message us on social media too. It just takes us a little bit longer to respond back sometimes, depending on the hour that you decide to reach out that way. Yesterday, I was actually able to reach out right away, so it kind of just depends if we see the message or not. But you can always request a callback, or we will contact you back the next day. But if you're interested in your own animal program, we have something for everyone. We try to be super educational as well as fun and safe, of course, for all ages. We are actually for everyone. It's not just for little kiddos. It's not just for big kiddos. We can actually bring an adult-only encounter as well if you would like. It's really up to you. If you have an event, or you have a class, or you have assisted living group, or anything at all, we can bring animals to make your day brighter. We can do anything from a formal presentation with either 3, 5, or 8 animals. That's our formal presentation packages. And of course, they vary in price. And then we also have something called a meet and greet, which is kind of our most popular package because it is very casual and it can fit in anywhere. It can be at a birthday party, classroom, anything at all. And it's much more casual. So it wouldn't be a formal presentation where the kids or adults are expected to sit and listen and be quiet. We can mingle and talk together. So it's a much more informal program as well. And then we do full-on petting zoos as well, which are outdoor-only programs too. We have 2 packages for our petting zoos. Excuse me, guys, I'm still recovering. And also we have our petting zoo and our petting zoo plus, which is the big shebang. So if you would like a animal program of your own, please let me know. And if you happen to not, or let us know, I should say, we have a whole team. If you are not in our area, though, we do have, of course, virtual capabilities as well. We can Zoom together, just like we're doing right now on the live stream, only it would be more of a private Zoom for you, and you can pick the animals that come and visit. It could be a classroom, it could be a birthday, whatever you need virtually. We can also help you out as well if you happen to not be in the South Texas area. Okay, if you want more information there, please let us know. And before I forget, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for everybody supporting us through the winter, which was kind of a slow season for us. So thank you for your support. We are picking back up again. If you are interested, and of course, booking, please let us know right away because we are booking pretty quickly, especially for weekends and especially for the spring coming up and even for the fall as well as summer. So please let us know. But before I forget as well, we are going to be having some public and private events coming up. Well, I should say public events for your purposes. We have private events coming up too, but public events where you can come and join us and see us in person. Those will be listed hopefully on our website soon, but honestly, the best place to go right now is either Instagram, Facebook, or any of our socials. Mostly those 2 as well, though. Instagram and Facebook, and Ricky can correct me in the comments, but you can actually see which events are coming up soon for the public. So you can either come to some of our free events. Having a hard time talking already. It's going to be a great show. Ticketed events are also a thing. So we do have a few events that you will have to get a ticket. It could either be a ticket ahead of time or at the door is usually okay as well. But there's a lot more. There are graphics. You don't see them? They're there. Do you not see them, Ricky? Let me know if there's no graphics still. I do have them up. I'm not sure if they're up everywhere, but I have them up on my end. So I don't know. Ricky is saying there's no graphics, but there are. So the ticketed events, you can find out which is which over on our social, especially Instagram is where I usually go look and see what's going on with our events so I can show people and stuff like that. Facebook as well. Yes, and there's limited space on some of our ticketed events, so please go ahead and get your tickets. They work now? Good. Okay. Very, very good. Oh, you're saying they're on the website now. Ricky is also letting me know. Ricky, by the way, is the other co-founder of Once in a Wild. He's my husband and the other founder of the whole company, and our marketing director as well. So he's working on a bunch of stuff behind the scenes while I speak. So it looks like the website, I guess you're telling me the website lists the events now? Yes or no? And whatnot. But please be more clear with what you're wanting me to say. Ricky's moderating for me. But yes, limited space is a thing on some of the other, some of the events because we do have smaller venues and things like that, like Oya Cafe, almost like Cafe Ole. Oya Cafe is one place that we're having monthly appearances, which are ticketed. Those are smaller venues, so we need to make sure that you know that it's limited space. We're also going to be appearing at the Twig Bookshop over at the Pearl here in San Antonio. Those are free, but of course space is limited as well, so it's kind of first come, first serve. Those are going to be story times with the animals as well, and usually 1 or 2 species per visit for the Twig Bookshop. And then also we have an event coming up over at Jumpyland for some of the kiddos and adults as well. I don't know what you're saying about February 13th. Just let me know. Be specific, please, Ricky. You need to say the whole thing so I can say what people need to hear. So he's saying February 13th, but I don't remember all the dates. As you can imagine, I look at so many dates and so many bookings literally every day that I don't memorize them. So just let us know. February 13th, there's something coming up. But again, you can check out our Instagram. We don't expect you guys to memorize when we are going to be wherever. We will be having hopefully more public events as well. Many of our events that clientele will actually book with us will be public as well, and you can just kind of show up. It might be ticketed, it may not be. A lot of them are free. February 13th is the next Oya Cafe. And let us know when the next Twig Bookshop, the first Twig Bookshop actually. But we're going to do the monthly for the Twig and for Oya Cafe. So you'll be able to see us multiple times if you like, or if you miss us this month, you can come and see us in March. We would love to see you in February. It is February. Happy Valentine's Day early. Hopefully you have a fun Valentine's Day plan coming up, even if it's with your friends, your family, whoever, somebody you love. Hopefully you will have a good time. But what better gift than a wonderful animal encounter with some of our animals? So you could maybe gift that to your loved ones. What a special gift for them. I remember last time I was on here, we were talking about Christmas, of course, and now it's already going to be Valentine's Day. So pretty fun. Valentine's is a lot of fun. We have all kinds of animal interactions that you can actually touch the animals and cuddle or take pictures, things like that. Not all of our animals are touchable, of course, but we do cater to that quite a bit because we have a lot of animals that you can touch, hold, or even take photos with, things like that, and are safe for almost any age. As long as you're nice to the animals, they'll be nice to you in return. Yes, we can have a cuddle party. We call it a cuddle party, which is kind of like a meet and greet, but where you get to touch and hold everything. So that's a kind of a fun little term for that. Speaking of which, all the animals I brought today for our encounter are all animals that you, the public, could of course hire us to bring, like any of our animals. And we have animals that are not necessarily pettable in our collection, such as our owl, Rango, our iguana, Joanna, maybe even our opossums. Those aren't really touchable animals as well. None of those are super unsafe to be in the presence of course, but a lot of them really aren't suitable for the public to reach over and touch or hold and things like that. And we will do the holding and touching for you in that case to present them for you. Or if maybe there's like a photo op or something like that, you can usually get close to those animals and take a picture with them, or just see them up close, take a picture of them, things like that, get to know them, learn about them, certainly, because we always try to teach you something about our wonderful animals. But all the animals I brought today, you, the public, could actually potentially hold or touch or hug as well if you want to. Of course, you're never going to be forced to do something you don't want to do, but many of our animals, including all 5 that we brought on the show today, are going to be able to be touched and held by the public. And we're always there to keep everything safe for the animals and safe for you as well. So I think that covers all of our current events. I don't want to take too long with that. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, as always, feel free to ask your questions. I will do my very best to see your questions over on TikTok and Instagram. It's a little hard to see because it's a phone and they're far away. But if I see them, I will try to catch them and answer your question. But our moderator may be able to also to answer your questions if he's able to catch it as well. And if not, feel free to reach out anytime and ask your questions directly to me. I don't mind. So let's go ahead and get started with our animals. I'm going to go ahead and start with my favorite type of animal in the world, which happens to be a snake. And I know a lot of people think, oh my gosh, a snake for a cuddle party. What in the world? Well, they are actually my favorite animals to bring to a cuddle party or a meet and greet or a touch, hold, photo op type opportunity for you guys in the public out there or private events too, of course. And this is Prince, by the way. Prince the python. He's a ball python, and he is such a good snake. So ball pythons are one of my favorites to introduce people to if they're a little bit nervous around snakes, or even if they're not. They're just a very easy to handle and easy to meet type of snake personality. They are so sweet. They are very chill. So the ball python actually in the wild comes from Africa. This is not a species that you would see in the United States at all, or even in America whatsoever. I'm trying to make sure we're focused over here. I think that's as good as we're going to get in our main camera. So they are originally from, and in the wild, from Africa. And they're more like a savanna type animal, but they're usually a pretty shy and more nocturnal type of creature. And they usually are going to be living somewhere dark, underground, or coming out at night. That's because they like to be cautious. They're a cautious type of snake. And they are, of course, a snake, so they're not vegetarian. They are hunters, but they're kind of shy hunters. They're very picky about what they decide to eat. And they have interesting tactics of hunting that most ambush predatory snakes have. So they are covered in a pattern. Prince is a Pastave ball python. He's kind of got a special coloration. I think I'm going to turn our lights down a little bit. I think that's what's causing our issues with focus. That's a little better. What do we think? That's a little better, I think. More natural. So Prince has this beautiful pattern on him. His coloration is called Pastave, which is pastel and Mojave mixed together, and that is a man-made coloration. But his pattern is really similar to the wild type of ball python. It would just be darker, less blonde, if you will, more brown, and would blend into the backdrop really nicely. See that, you guys? Beautiful snake. They have a camouflage pattern, of course. That's going to help them to hide, even if they happen to come out during the day at any point. They're going to hide quite well. Remember, some of the animals that they're going after or may go after them, because they do have predators too, right? They're going to be able to see well at night. So even if he comes out at night and those animals can still see him, they're going to be able to hopefully miss him because of his camouflage. That's going to help him to go ahead and hide from predators of his and prey of his. Now, he is not a very big snake. In the wild, they can get maybe 2 or 3 times as big as this, and males like him never get 3 times as big as this. That would be a very large male. It almost never happens. A female is bigger in this species than the male. And that goes for most constrictors as well. I believe all constrictors. So these guys don't get very large compared to other predators in Africa, of course. And so they need to hide from their predators, right? So hiding from predators, and also more importantly, maybe hiding from prey. Maybe it's both important, right? Of course. So he would kind of hang out very still. Unless he is super duper hungry, he may venture out to explore a little bit. He may venture out to get, of course, a drink of water or something like that. He may venture out to eventually get a meal if he can't find a meal nearby to him. But if this is an underground or kind of crevice cave dwelling animal, termite mounds are popular for ball pythons to dwell in as well. If they're mostly underground in the dark, under something of some sort of shelter, they can sometimes just wait for their food to come to the front door or come into their tunnel system or into their cave system that they live in, or just little, maybe like a log that is a half log that they live underneath. something for shelter, right? Sometimes a rodent or a bird will venture into them, and then they may take the opportunity to go ahead and hunt that way. But regardless, they're going to kind of ambush their prey, right? Because they're covered in a pattern that's going to hide them very well in nature. This busy pattern that many predators and prey have, right? In nature, this sort of technique. So their main technique is to be an ambush predator. They kind of sit around and wait for food to come to them. And if they really need to, they'll venture out and find food on their own. But typically they don't have to do that because they can go many months without eating and still survive just fine. And venturing out may be dangerous for them. They might get eaten themselves by something else or trampled or some sort of danger, etc. Right? He's so pretty. And then also, since he maybe eats just every couple months, I would say in the wild it's on average about every 3 months. That's pretty normal for this type of snake to go that long without eating. But of course, they need water sometimes. They get a lot of the water from the food that they eat, the moisture from the food they eat, and that helps them survive too. But if he's super thirsty, he needs to drink of water. Or if there's an emergency, he needs to climb out of his shelter for some other reason. Maybe there's a fire, maybe there's a flood, maybe a predator wanders into his home and he has to get out of there. That would be another good reason. Of course, there's many reasons for him to leave his home, but in general, they would just kind of hang out for a long time. And when they eventually feel hungry or something maybe approaches them, they can decide to go ahead and eat it. And they are snakes, so they do bite their food and they do catch their food with their mouth. Now, he is, of course, non-venomous. He's a python, so he's got a constrictor's body, very strong, beautiful muscles, strong muscles. His whole body is full of muscles. And from his neck down to his tail, he's got strong muscles, especially in the kind of midsection. He's super strong. So what they would do is reach out and quickly grab their food and hang on to it with their mouth. Their teeth are like Velcro. Their teeth stick to their food very well. A lot of people are worried about getting bitten by a snake like this. You don't have to worry about any snake bite unless it's a very large snake or a venomous snake. And some snakes aren't even that toxic, even if they are venomous. But most snakes in the wild, you want to leave them alone just in case there's a problem there, right? We want to make sure the snake is left alone for its own good and for your own good as well. We definitely want to leave snakes alone. Snakes are amazing animals for the natural environment. They're super important to help with rodent and other animal populations, right? And some snakes even eat other snakes that other animals can't even touch or eat. For example, king snakes and bull snakes and indigos can eat venomous snakes. And venomous snakes can sometimes have lots of children. And almost nobody else can eat those venomous snakes. So we need population control for almost every type of animal in nature. So those are really handy for that as well. As much as I love snakes and all animals, we have to have predators and we have to have prey in the environment to have a balance. So these guys keep a good check on those prey animals. And ball pythons aren't really an animal that's going to go after other reptiles. They're really rodent and bird hunters and any other maybe like smaller mammal like that. Smaller bird. They could eat a pretty large meal though once they eventually eat, and I say large, but not super large. It's not like a big animal. They're usually going to go after rats and mice and things like that. Now, he would prefer to eat a really big meal about once a month. Would be nice and healthy for him in the wild to eat, but once a month, a nice big rat and be able to eat that rat or equivalent sized animal and then just digest the rest of the month and eventually eat another 4 weeks. Now, how do they find their food in the first place? Well, they can see and they can touch, right? And they got feelings in general, but their best sense is going to be their sense of smell. And for a snake, their sense of smell is detected by the tongue. So he also has another trick up his sleeve, but let's talk about the tongue. So the tongue for a snake is forked. That means it's got 2 points on the end of it. It's a split tongue, and it's very slender, almost like the antenna of an insect. And that's going to help them feel around, but also pick up scent particles too. So when they stick out their tongue, it will stick out and wave around a little bit, and then he's going to put it back in his mouth pretty rapidly all the time, right? And that's how he's going to sense smell. When he puts it back into his mouth, it's going to tickle the roof of his mouth. And on the roof of his mouth, he's got a special organ. It's like a little pocket on the roof of his mouth. That's called a Jacobson's organ. It's a sensory organ that tells his brain all the information and picks it apart about smells that he's smelling. So they actually smell like through surfaces or air. Scent particles. And if you think about it, we do the same thing. We just inhale our smells, right? We inhale our smells, but microscopically, all smells, there's something to it, right? There's little particles that we really can't see most of the time. Sometimes we can see little flecks in the air, but he can basically pick up all those scents and put his tongue back in his mouth. That's going to tell his brain directly what's going on. And if he smells a rodent or a bird that he thinks is food, then they reach out and grab it. And as a python and a constrictor in general, they have the muscles and they have strong bodies. They will wrap right around their food, squeeze it for about 2 to 5 minutes, depending on their preference and how much the animal's wiggling and fighting, because animals don't want to be eaten usually. When we feed captive snakes, we recommend feeding them frozen thawed rats or feeders in general, because those animals often will fight back and injure your snake. And that's also a much more humane death for the feeder as well. The feeder itself is also an animal too. We have to think about that too. But in the wild is a different case, right? So they're reaching out and grabbing and immediately wrapping around so fast, lightning fast. And then it's a nice squeeze. And for anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. And if that animal is still moving, they will just put more pressure and more pressure and more pressure and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze until the animal is no longer able to have blood flow to their body anymore. They're also suffocating. Oxygen is gone from their body and they can't live anymore. So that's how they hunt. But these guys have no venom. They have no poison. Poison would be touching him and getting poisoned, or eating him or licking him and getting poisoned, which I'm not going to demo. That is not the case for most snakes. There's only a couple type of snakes, I think it's just a couple of them, that actually have a poisonous aspect to their body itself, to where an animal would eat them and be poisoned. Super rare. But of course, there are venomous snakes. Venom is very different. Venom is injected by the owner of the venom. The snake in this case would bite a prey, or maybe for defense, which is rare, to be honest. Snakes don't really bite for defense unless they have to. They may try to scare you away, but most venomous snakes don't want to waste their venom as a defense mechanism. They want to use their venom for getting their food. So a venomous snake would bite, let go. Unless they're an arboreal tree type of viper or snake, they may bite and hang on. That way the prey doesn't fall. But most venomous snakes will bite and let go, let the venom take effect, and then they'll proceed to go over there to the food and eat it up. Now, speaking of which, once he's done squeezing his food, he's going to let go, release the food. It has passed away, right? And then he can proceed to eat it. Now, they prefer to eat their food head first. I've seen both ways. Some snakes don't really care. But most snakes like to eat the food head first because everything is more streamlined that way, especially animals that eat mostly rodents or birds. They have feathers and fur that flow with the streamlining of the body, right? So they're going to try to eat that animal head first. They're actually able to eat something about 5 or 6 times the size of their own head, because they have a special jaw system that we don't even come close to with being able to eat something pretty large like that, right? So our jaws are designed to bite a piece of food and chew it up and then swallow it in soft pieces, because that's how we eat. Of course, if you didn't know, now you know. You can also eat a smoothie or a soup and try to drink your food, but it must be soft to be able to eat it like that. So these guys can eat a whole rat, a whole animal that's about 6 times the size of their head. Look at his head, imagine 6 times. He can eat a pretty large rodent if he really wants to. And they have a specialized jaw system. Now, their teeth are only designed for grabbing on and not letting go when they don't want to. If they're ready to grab food, it's like Velcro. It's going to stick right to those furry or feathery meals of theirs, right? Especially when they're moving around and trying to get away. That's what they're designed to do, and their body will squeeze them in the case of a constrictor, right? But these guys do not have the ability to chew up their food. So what they do, they eat it whole. And they will try to eat it head first, like I said. And what they have is the ability to basically spread their jaws wide open. So they have 2 separate jaw bones right here. Imagine there's a gap right here. And they basically have 2 doors for jaws that open up nice and wide. And can open up nice and wide like this. And right here, where they open up their mouth like that, is super flexible. And they can open up ultra, ultra wide that way as well. So ultra wide this way. Oop, scared him visually there. Remember, snakes don't have any ears. So if I do something visual, he may react to that. And of course, he's got a good sense of smell. Aw, they don't see well either, by the way. Pythons and boas don't really see the best. There's a couple of snakes that see much better than them, right? Some of the colubrids and things see better. And there's a few that see better than boas and pythons, but these guys will hunt mostly with their sense of smell, and something else that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But once he's able to open his mouth super wide and eat the animal head first, they're able to eat that whole animal in one big gulp. And it takes some time. So if they need to take a breath, They can hold their breath for a little while, but if they really need to breathe while they're eating that huge meal, especially when they're eating something extra large, they're actually going to have the ability to expand their throat a little bit. It's called their glottis. So right here in their throat, they have a tube like we do too, and they're able to actually stretch out the flesh of their throat. It's called the glottis, and they can take a little breath like a little snorkel hanging outside of their mouth. So that's pretty neat. Look that up. That's pretty cool. But that helps them to take another big breath while they're eating. They can't hold their breath forever, and they do need to breathe like us. They just hold their breath a lot longer than we do and breathe a lot less often. Now, I did mention that pythons, like Prince here, Prince the python, he has another special ability to sense his food in a different way. He's on the move today. He must be awake and ready to party. It is nighttime when they're usually awake, right? The nocturnal animal, more nocturnal. I think we're still too bright over here, you guys. So my phones over there tend to have a little bit better ability to pick up light. Can you guys see these little holes on the sides of his face? They look like extra little nostrils down there. Look at that. Now he's got 2 nostrils on the top of his snoot, a very formal term for his rostrum, his snout. He's got 2 tiny nostrils. They're almost impossible to see, to be honest, on camera. They're very small. The nostrils only breathe. They breathe for him. They don't sniff or smell, but they can breathe. The little holes on the sides of his lips, those are heat-sensing pits. They're called labial pits. They're heat-sensing pits on his lips. Some boas have this, a few of them, not many, and all pythons have these. And pit vipers also have them. Have you ever heard the word pit viper, or the term, I should say, pit, the 2 words pit viper? Pit viper doesn't come from where the animal lives, like down in a pit. That's not where that term comes from, or those words come from together. That comes from their ability to have the heat sensing pits. So on a viper, I believe all of them, vipers have 2 in the front, and pythons have several on their upper and sometimes lower lips. Isn't that cool? I think that is so neat. Do we think the lighting is better like this, a little bit darker? You let me know if I need to turn it up or turn it back down. Oh, Prince, you are on the move. He is usually sitting very still and hanging out. I'm surprised he's moving around this much, but it's kind of fun to see. Normally on program, if we take him somewhere in the public or private event or appearance, he is very still. So he's actually a super easy snake for you all to cuddle and hold and take a photo with if you like. He's also a really great snake for teaching others that may be a little nervous around snakes to not be nervous. He has been held by so many people. Him and Princess and Patches are our 3 ball pythons. Prince, Princess, and Patches. And they're very, very good at kind of being somebody's first snake to hold, or it could be your 100th snake. That's okay too. He's good either way, but he's very, very sweet. Ball pythons in general are kind of a shy species, like I mentioned before, I think, and their main defense is to hide, to camouflage and blend into things, right? Hide underground sometimes, or even hide underneath their own body. So these guys will actually ball up. Their name is the ball python after all. The other name is the royal python, which is why we call him Prince. But their kind of other go-to defense is to kind of curl up with their heavy body on top of their head, and they hide underneath their own self. See, the head is pretty small compared to his thick body, right? I do think the lighting is better like this. I think we'll leave it like that. So his tiny little head, so much smaller than his thick body, especially when it's wrapped up kind of like in a ball or like a little pretzel. He can hide easily underneath and protect the most important part of himself, which is his face, right? That's a good lesson for all of us out there. If we have to protect something, let's please protect our faces, right? Did you know that snakes, in general, all snakes, do not blink? They actually have no eyelids. They have a spectacle scale, which is over each eye, and is actually clear and see-through. Some snakes like to go swimming, and all snakes can go swimming if they need to. It's an emergency, or they just need to get from one place to the other, right? But all snakes have that spectacle scale over their eye that protects their eye. They can still move their eyes underneath it and look around a little bit, right? But, and a python, again, they don't see well, but they still see some, right? And he could potentially stick his head underwater and look around with his built-in goggles. I wish I had that. I think I'd be a better swimmer. Please let me know if anybody has questions. If you would like to head over to YouTube or Facebook, that might be a good place to ask questions because I can see them. Here's a good question. How many rats do they eat? One or more rats? How do you know how much to feed them? That's a good question. For a ball python in human care, I recommend feeding them anywhere from 2 to 3 times a month at most. Otherwise, you're going to have a pretty fat ball python. Now, if you have a baby, one that's like a hatchling or a year or 2 old, you're going to want to feed them about 3 times a month. That is a good program for that young snake. Prince eats about 2 times a month because he's not an old snake. And he's not a baby either. He's kind of like an in-between. So twice a month ends up working really well for him. How do we know how many to feed? Well, it's going to depend on the size of your snake and the size of the feeder rat or feeder chick or whatever you're feeding. Prince gets both rats. When he was a baby, he used to get really big mice. Mice when they're babies. But as a kind of this size now, mid-size, because he's about half grown, right? These guys can eat like a medium-sized rat very easily, twice a month. Medium is kind of like a weird term as well. I would ask a snake expert if you can find an expert at a specialized pet store. And I don't mean just a general pet store. I mean like an actual specialized pet store. Or there's many, many resources online that can show you how big to feed. Honestly, most people, when they have ball pythons and any constrictors like that, they typically feed them too small of animals. You'd be surprised what Prince could actually eat. If he really wanted to, he could eat a large rat, and maybe we would just feed him once a month. But we've figured out what he really likes is to be fed twice a month and fed a medium rat twice a month. Okay, and most of your feeder resources, they'll know what that means. Like if you order them online and they're frozen thawed type items, right? Rats and things. If we feed them chicks, which are day-old baby chickens, we feed him 3 per feeding. So it would be either 3 chicks twice a month or 1 medium rat twice a month. Or if we don't happen to have medium rats, I can feed him 2 small rats per feeding. I hope that makes sense. But it is actually kind of tricky if you're new to all of this. Now, a lot of people do ask us if Prince would make a good pet. And I definitely think that ball pythons make a great pet for a probably, I wouldn't say advanced, but not a beginner keeper. And a lot of people do recommend ball pythons for beginners because they are so docile and easy to handle. For handling ability, this is a 10 out of 10. These guys are the easiest snake to handle, in my opinion, of all the snakes, period. But as far as care, they're just a little more advanced than a beginner. And I would say they're probably like a 4 out of 10 for advancement, right? Or for advanced scale, I guess. Scale, get it? These guys are a little bit more care than, say, like a corn snake or a king snake or something like that. For me, a corn snake is absolutely the best starter snake if you are just beginning your reptile journey or your reptile you know what I mean? If that's your first ever snake, I would recommend something like a corn snake. King snakes are great too, but king snakes can have nippy personalities sometimes. But a king snake is also a super easy animal to care for as well. Sorry, by the way, if I'm causing any noise with our backdrop. It's right behind me today because I'm kind of squeezed in here. Get it? Squeeze like a python. Oh my gosh, I'm full of puns today. So these guys, are those really puns? I don't know. Squeezing puns, squeezing. I guess they're just words that have relation to what I'm talking about. But anyway, yes, I would definitely do a ton of research before adopting any type of exotic animal or domesticated animal too. All animals are super important, whether it's domesticated or more exotic like this. And by exotic, I mean, you know, something that's not like a cat, a dog, a chicken, something like that. But all those animals deserve their own research as well. So if you're confused on what to feed your snake, I would ask an expert. Yeah, good question. Okay, Prince, you did a great job. Again, Prince is always available for presentations. If you're afraid of snakes, that's actually a great reason to have a snake at your animal encounter because you can learn to appreciate them. Prince is a great kind of first snake to meet. Princess is probably our most popular ball python to meet in person. She's somehow less scary because she has no pattern. So Princess is actually an ivory ball python. She has almost no pattern on her body, and somehow she's less scary, I think, to some people. But honestly, once you get used to them and see how safe they are to handle and touch, it's not a big deal at all. But I do understand not everybody loves snakes as much as we do, and that's why we have a job, right? We can educate you guys. If you see a snake outside, of course, leave them alone. Please do not pick up a wild animal. We don't recommend that. We recommend calling professionals for help. Most professional resources and somebody you could call for professional help, animal wranglers, animal control, things like that. Most of the time, the snakes will be safely removed and re-released to an appropriate area, not your house. If it's in your backyard, usually they will just leave. Most of the time, snakes don't want to be around you or your pets. And once they realize you're there, they will usually just leave. Snakes will go wherever the resources are. So if you have like chickens or livestock, things like that, there's going to be food, there's going to be seeds, there's going to be rodents, and then snakes will sometimes move in and you will have snakes. If you don't have any resources like shelter or food or water, the animals have no reason to be in your backyard. So a clean, kind of more empty backyard is not a good snake environment. So they usually won't be there. Just a fun tip from me to you. But if you see one and you want it to go away, you can either wait for time to pass, and usually they will leave, or you can call a professional for help, and typically they will safely remove and re-release the animal. Please do not harm the animal. Harming a snake in the wild is the very best way to get bitten by a venomous or non-venomous snake. So please, we just leave them alone, and they'll leave you alone most of the time, okay? Prince, you did a great job, and we would love to see you guys in person. If you want to meet Prince in person, just let me know. He is a very easy one to bring along. Okay, I got to get him safely secured. Now, another unconventional animal that we sometimes bring for encounters where people can hold, touch, meet an animal up close, take a picture with them, hold on their own, touch with my assistance. Any of those things are possible with the next species. So I'm going to go ahead and get you a couple of these. I did bring a group. Let's see who's going to be the calmest. These guys can either be calm or they can be a little skittish. And they're always safe regardless of that, okay? Let me grab a few of them and make sure that the rest of them are secure. So I have 5, and we'll see how these guys do. I got 3 out of 5 that we brought today. Oh, I may have to reconfigure my hand here because I don't think I can bend that way. Oh, we don't want to drop them either. So these are 3 Madagascar hissing cockroaches. If you know me in person and you've met me before, you probably know that the one animal that I'm deathly afraid of, and I mean it, is roaches. So it's actually taken me quite a long time to get used to handling these guys easily. Now I would bring them closer, but I don't really have a way to keep them safe from falling. Closer to the camera there. There's 3 of them kind of pointed downward. Their antennae are pointing downward, but they're actually pretty large. I think you can see them where we're at. In here in a little bit, I might bring 1 closer, but I feel a little more nervous bringing 3 closer. I don't want them to fall down. Now, these guys are very tough, so if they do fall, that's okay. They will be okay. They have a super tough shell. They're actually one of the few type of invertebrate or animals with no bones, right? Animals with an exoskeleton instead of an endoskeleton that we can let people hold with no problems. They're very tough. They have the shell that protects them, as you can see. And that is actually one of their defenses in the wild, is to drop down out of trees and get away from animals that way too. So that's actually pretty natural for them to do. They're very, very strong for a bug. But back to my story, I am afraid of roaches that fly. Not a fan of those. Now, I know they're all important and they have their own purpose in nature. Many of the roaches that are around Texas that I'm not a fan of are invasive species. So that's not good for the environment, but I'm actually pretty scared of them. Insects in general, I'm fine with most of them. And arachnids, I'm 100% fine. I have no fear of spiders or scorpions. I respect them, of course, but I love them. I actually can hold a spider with no problem. Scorpion doesn't bother me either. I love tarantulas. I love scorpions, all those guys. Roaches have taken me somewhat of time to get used to handling them, but these are Madagascar hissing roaches. These are nothing like the wild roaches that we have here in Texas or that we have in the United States, and they don't have any wings. They're not fast. They 100% can't bite you, which is most of the roaches anyway, and they're not gross. They actually are super clean animals. And a lot of times people do think that all roaches carry disease and are just nasty, but it's actually humans that carry the disease. And then the roaches are kind of like hanging out in our garbage and stuff like that, right? Look how pretty this one is. They're hanging out in our garbage and carrying around our garbage and our germs. So they're really just carriers of our germs, and they get a really bad reputation that way. But these guys are actually super duper clean. And one reason that they're super clean is because they have their own little cleanup crew on their bodies. And I always forget to talk about this, but for me, it's one of the neatest facts about Madagascar hissing cockroaches is they actually have mites on their body, which is does kind of sound gross. But those little mites are um, specifically found only on Madagascar hissing cockroaches. I'm like, how can I say this and make it easy to understand? So these little Madagascar hissing cockroach mites are tiny little bugs that live on the Madagascar hissing cockroaches. That's a mouthful. And they crawl around on the hissing cockroach bodies and they clean up after them. So when these roaches are eating, they might get crumbs and dirt and debris all over them. But these little mites will actually eat the leftovers off of the roaches and clean them up. So it's like living with little Roombas on your body that clean up after you. And if you really want to get technical, we have those too. Most species out there in nature, whether they be insects or mammals or birds, we have little bugs on our body too. So usually they're microscopic or nearly microscopic, and they help to clean us up. So that's another fun fact. But these guys are actually not known to carry any disease that would affect a human. Of course, in the wild, if you see an insect, we want to make sure to leave them alone if you don't know what you're doing. Some of those insects could bite or sting or harm you, and some of them are not necessarily safe in general to hold. Most insects are perfectly clean, but we want to make sure the insects stay safe and that you stay safe as well. And that goes for arachnids too. So any invertebrate, I recommend leaving them alone unless you're some sort of expert or you're learning to be an entomologist or you are an entomologist. Right, something like that. Or a zoologist. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to the general public, especially kiddos. I want to make sure that everybody's safe. And the best way to stay safe from animals in nature, in the wild, in your backyard, everywhere, is to respect them and leave them alone, right? But these are harmless. These are actually animals we could bring for you to interact with. You can hold them, as you can see. They're not really a problem to hold. They just kind of hold on to you when they want to. If they don't want to, they'll just drop down, and we usually have like a table or a pillow or something like this for them to fall down on, and they're just fine. But even if they fell on the carpet, they would be okay too. I just don't want to have to go searching for one if they disappear here in the studio with all the things around me, right? But these guys are harmless to humans. You can even pet one if you want to. They kind of feel like polished wood. It's really, really nice, very smooth. And if you like insects in general, these are a great animal to select for, photos, interactions, learning more about. But they are insects as well. So like all insects, they do have 2 antennae. Those antennae are sensory organs, of course. There's 2 of them, just like the snake's tongue. Gives them a sense of direction. For roaches like this, I believe all roaches, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an entomologist, but if you are out there, please correct me, or if you know better. I believe that all roaches will use their antenna, of course, to touch, but they can also use their antenna to smell as well. And some other insects, like moths, I know for moths, they can hear and pick up vibrations with their antenna as well. But most of the time, it's a sensory organ for touch and for smell on most insects, including roaches. Now, they also have 6 legs. All insects have 6 legs and 2 antennae. That's what makes an insect an insect. They also, of course, have an exoskeleton instead of an endoskeleton. They have a shell. That's technically what it is. The shell outside of their body. It's an exoskeleton, a skeleton on the outside, right? So that's going to help them to stay safe. And their exoskeleton is extremely protected, like a shell on almost like a crab or something like that. Not as strong as a crab, but pretty strong. Now, where do these guys live, right? So they live in Madagascar. The Madagascar hissing cockroach is only found in Madagascar. That's where they're from. And they live in the jungle. So they're going to live in the jungle in the subtropical and tropical regions of Madagascar. They're going to live anywhere from the coast to forest to, like I said, dry or wetter regions, guys. They are mostly, though, going to be found in the humid tropical rainforest areas, and they're what we call detritivores. Detritivores eat pretty much dead plants, plants in general, and they can eat fresh fruit. They can eat softer plants. They can eat leaves pretty easily, and their mouth is only designed to eat things like that, not to crunch on hard things like bark or anything like that. They really just eat soft food. So the best thing for them to eat, and what they really like the best, is either going to be soft fruit or decaying plant matter. And they can also pick up decaying all kinds of things, right? So in nature, you may have like a dead animal or plants together. They can probably eat some of that as well and kind of clean up the environment by doing away with the dirtiness, the especially dead plant matter. That's what their job is, really. So they're going to help keep the soil and the forest floor of the forest nice and healthy for other animals. And on top of that, they also are eaten by other animals. They're actually prey themselves, and they have almost no defense, so they really aren't a dangerous prey animal. I've heard that they have a little bit of toxin to their body, which is not super duper strong, but I've heard that certain animals can't eat them because it can turn toxic after a while, but they will probably just get an upset belly or something like that. Nothing crazy. They certainly have no stinger. They certainly have no chomping mouth that can bite. They're pretty defenseless otherwise, except for maybe that little bit of toxicity to their body, that poisonous-ish, but they're not super poisonous. Compared to other types of invertebrates, they're very low on the toxicity level. But they could hiss. They could hiss at their enemies, and also they hiss to communicate as well. So males will often hiss more than females for communication purposes, and we'll hear our males hiss more than our females. How do we tell the difference? Well, males actually have little bumps on their head area. It's kind of like the helmeted region of their head. They have little bumps that look like horns, and then the females have a really smooth area right there, so it's not going to have the little bumps. So that's the best way to tell male from female. Another way is by their hind end. Like most animals, they have a different hind end than females. Females are male, and males have kind of a little bit of a pinch at the end of their abdomen there, their hind end, and females will have a more rounded or bulbous hind end. But also, they can hiss. Male and female can hiss. Now, how an insect would hiss and how an insect would breathe are through sphericals on their back or abdomen. I call them the back when I'm talking to like kiddos, because, you know, the back is more, we understand back over abdomen. But what it really is of course, an insect has a head, and then all insects have 3 body sections. So they're going to have a head, a thorax, and an abdomen, 3 body sections. So the abdomen is where the little sphericals are, which are little tiny dots on their back or abdomen. And that's actually their tubes of breathing, kind of like little nostrils there. And they're going to breathe with book lungs, which are kind of like gills inside their body. I believe some insects you can actually see their book lungs on the outside, but most of them are going to be on the inside. And their book lungs are very similar to gills, in my opinion. They kind of have little folds, and they look like the gills of maybe like a crab or a fish or something like that, right? These guys have very different breathing systems than us. And their breathing system, like I said, takes in and expels air through their abdomen, not their mouth. Their mouth and nose, they have no nose, do not breathe at all. They don't have any nostrils. They don't have a mouth that breathes. Their mouth eats and digests for them, right? They can consume food, but they can't breathe with their head. So that's why you probably heard of a roach living with no head. Don't tell these guys. I don't want to upset them. But if a roach loses their head, gets bitten off by another animal or chopped off or crushed, they can actually live for a little while because they don't breathe with their head, right? Until they need to eat again, and they will need their head to be able to eat. So that's why. They have sphericals, which are holes, and there's many of them. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10 on this particular animal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this animal. Did I miscount? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they actually have 12 sphericals on their back. So it's like having 12 nostrils on your back to breathe. Weird. And again, 6 legs, 2 antennae, sphericals for breathing, 3 body parts, eyes. These guys do have eyes. Let me go ahead and put 2 out of 3 down so I can show you some of the other details of these guys, of these beautiful Madagascar hissing cockroaches. Again, not so bad, right? They're not even moving that fast. They're not moving at all. So let me go ahead and set down a couple of them so that I can show you a little more details of this roach. And just bear with me. I want to make sure I pick the calmest one, and I want to make sure they don't fall where they shouldn't fall. I think, yes, this one will be the calmest. All right. Now, a lot of people assume that if we bring these Madagascar hissing cockroaches to an event, that people won't like them. But a lot of times we will bring them, and they end up being like one of the most popular animals that we bring, which I always find so funny. Okay, so we're going to try to show you her head. This is a female. We have a rounded abdomen at the end, and we have a smooth head. Smooth head area anyway, head area. Can you see? Can you see? There we are. Kind of a smooth top to the head there, and a round bottom, right? So we know this is a girl. Aww. This is a female. Okay, So they have the antenna, of course. Can we peep over to the top a little bit? They have these antennae that can move around independently. The antennae are actually attached below the eye on the cheek. I like to call it the cheek of the animal, kind of like where our cheeks would be. The antenna of this Madagascar hissing cockroach is actually attached to below the eye. Oh my gosh. Macro. Can you say macro photography? So the eyes are on the corner of the head. They're really hard to see on this particular type of insect because they have pretty small eyes compared to other insects. They see very well though, and do have compound eyes, which means they have many little tiny eyes in their eyes. So they see very well. Roaches in general are very reactive to what they see and can run away quickly if they feel upset. That's why roaches run when you turn the lights on. Terrifying. These guys have their heads that are kind of like a triangle shape. Imagine, I'll put her down for a second. We want to come down for a second? Just a little bit? Just stay there. Stay. Good, roach. So imagine the head of a praying mantis. It's kind of like a heart shape or a triangle shape, like this, right? So a praying mantis would kind of have like a head shape like this. And their eyes are way up here on the corners of their triangular shaped head. That is actually super similar to this animal here too. They have kind of a interesting shaped head. It's hard to see because they carry their head kind of underneath themselves, right? That's going to help them to stay safe and keep their head safe. But their antenna, each antenna is connected to right underneath the eye. The eyes are on top, the antenna are below the eye on the cheeks. And then they have the ability to independently move their antenna and feel around. So that's why we call them feelers as well. It's kind of the more casual name for antenna. Feelers. And that'll help them feel. And also they can pick up smells with their antenna as well. So this particular type of insect will hear with their legs. They have kind of like little spiky hairs on their legs. It's okay to have hairy legs, girl. So see their legs? Look at that. Look at the legs. I'm going to show everybody else in a minute. They kind of have little like spines, for lack of better terms, on their legs. And those spines can kind of act like hairs that are in your ear, or hairs on like a whisker type, ordeal. And that can help them pick up sounds. So they can hear like that. It's really, I guess, picking up vibrations of sounds. So feeling vibrations, which I guess is more of a touch, but it's like a hearing mechanism, if you will. So through their legs, that's how they kind of hear and how they pick up sound. Pretty neat, right? So they're really not so bad. A lot of people are afraid of them. It is okay if you don't want any roaches at your party or event. That is okay. Yes, I know. How many eggs do they lay? Were you talking about Prince or were you talking about the roaches? I'll tell you both. So a ball python can lay several. I believe the most they can lay is like 12 or 14 eggs, but usually ball pythons have like 5 or 6 eggs, something like that. That's pretty average. Their eggs are very large. A Madagascar hissing cockroach does not lay eggs. They give live birth. So these guys will expel ovum if they are not fertilized by a male. So the female will expel ovum. So it's kind of like eggs, but they're not fertilized, right? So it's just like the baby that never was, right? So they will expel those. But when they have their young, they have live births. When those babies are born, they're very light colored, almost white. And then they get their hard shell later. And they start to molt and they will grow bigger. These guys have to molt their entire exoskeleton to grow bigger. And this is actually one of the longer lived type of insects in the world. Madagascar hissing cockroaches in particular can live up to 5 years. And some subspecies are even bigger than these from what we have. I'm not even sure what subspecies we have or if they're mixed because they're born in captivity and things like that. Ours have babies all the time. We have so many babies because we have a colony of them. I forget how many we currently have of adults. We have so many babies, and the males and females live together, so ultimately we get lots of children from our roaches, and they are live born. They come out like a dozen to, I'm trying to think of the biggest brood I ever saw laid, probably 25, something like that. It's actually not that many compared to other insects. Most insects have tons of babies. These guys just have like some each time, but they do reproduce continuously because they don't have any seasons where they live. So where they live, they just breed all the time because it's the tropics. They don't have seasonal change. So as long as it's warm and humid, they will continue to have children for us. All right. I hope that you enjoyed our beautiful roaches. Our roaches do not have names because we have so many of them and I can't tell them apart. And as soon as I find out like different features on them that make them different from each other, they do molt and change again. So I won't be able to keep up with that. And it's not really nice to like paint them or anything like that. So we just have them as like the roach group or the roach army, as Ricky likes to call them. So goodbye to one of the soldiers in the roach army, I guess. This is our female here that we brought today. I usually pack 5 every time that we travel with them. They like to live in little groups. They are an extremely social animal. And they much prefer to be in a group rather than by themselves because that is safety in numbers. And there's so many facts to talk about, you guys, with roaches, with insects. Insects have the most diversity of any animal group in the world. Roaches alone, there's like 4,600 species of them. And insects, I can't even remember how many species. Bridget, let me know later. She's our entomologist on staff. She would probably tell me, I mean, there's just endless thousands of species of insects. It's pretty diverse. So there's so many facts and things. Let me know your favorite insect and your favorite fact about insects. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope I didn't scare everyone away. Please don't be bugged. Yeah, so I think I answered all the questions there. So let's go ahead and meet another reptile and then we'll meet a mammal. Let me shuffle some things around here. The plan is to meet one more reptile and then we'll meet a mammal and a bird. And we'll save the bird for last, I think. And remember, we're having all animals on the program today that can all be held or touched by the public, including yourself out there. This is Debbie. Let me get situated and I'll hold her higher so you can see her. Debbie is a bearded dragon. Bearded dragons are great animals to have in programs because they're very docile and sweet. And they're actually pretty good pets as well. Now, I think bearded dragons and ball pythons are about the same level of advanced as far as care. I think they're kind of mid advanced, even though a lot of people think they're beginner animals. I tend to lean on the side of them not really being beginner because they have a little more care than some of the other beginner type of reptile. And again, it has to be, every animal is important. So no animal should be like an impulse purchase, impulse for your children. I don't really agree with that. To each his own, but I think that every single animal is super important. That's something that we definitely teach with Once in a Wild, is that even quote unquote beginner animals, they're not toys. They're not to be taken lightly. They're just as important as some of the advanced animals too. And I think that bearded dragons are kind of midway. Like I said, they do have more health issues potentially than other type of lizards that I would highly recommend for beginners, such as leopard geckos and crested geckos, and maybe even a blue-tongued skink over a bearded dragon. And bearded dragon will probably be next for the same reason as the ball python, and that's their handleability. They're super handleable. As you can see, she's very docile. She's very chill right now. It is nighttime. Yep, it's 7:30, so she is ready for bed. They are very diurnal, which means that they're daytime animals. They bask in the sun, and they get their energy from the sun and the UV rays and the heat, and otherwise they go straight to sleep when it's dark. But I bet whatever, I think I can get her to wake up if we have some snacks right here. Would you like a snack? This is Debbie. She's our bearded dragon, one of our rescues, slash rehomes. I guess she's more of a rehome than a rescue. All animals are important, but we especially like to kind of highlight our rehome animals because it does kind of prove my point that sometimes people will impulse buy these animals or think they want one, and then they may change their mind. Would you like some salad? So Debbie, yes, she would. Debbie the bearded dragon never turns down food. She is a hungry hippo slash lizard. These guys are actually omnivores, so they'll eat anything from little animals like insects. I have the roaches safely put away. Don't worry. She would definitely eat one of those if she saw one, or if I let her, which I'm not going to. But she'll eat all type of different insects. We do dubia roaches, super worms, crickets, whatever she wants. She can have them in moderation. Those guys are in moderation because Debbie used to be quite chunky, and now she's on a bit of a healthier diet. So now she gets a balanced diet of mostly salad and greens and other veggies. Don't do a ton of fruit because that is high in calories as well, with sugar and things that isn't good for them in a lot of amounts. Small amounts is okay, like a blueberry every now and then, that's okay. But mostly greens, as you can see, she has no problem eating that. But her favorite food is probably insects and worms and things like that. And that goes for bearded dragons in general, but Debbie is definitely an eating machine. She loves to eat. So they are omnivores. They can eat salad, fruits and vegetables. They can eat other animals like insects and smaller lizards and small rodents. They're not super picky. If it fits in their mouth, they will try to probably munch down on it. Let's see if we can rotate her a little so you can see her a teeny bit better. These type of lizards are wonderful for programs and wonderful for anybody to hold, to pet. They do have quite the rough exterior, but very sweet on the inside. And this rough exterior isn't really as bad as it looks. It kind of feels like the trunk of a tree, in my opinion, or like a oak tree or something like that. Not a big deal as long as you kind of touch with the grain. If you go against the grain, it's going to be hard to touch them, but it's also not a big deal. And the spines on the side, I don't know if you can see, some of you, there's little spines, but they lay down nicely and they are not really sharp at all. They're kind of rubbery. These spines and their body is kind of round in the middle. If they want to puff out their body really big, they can actually do so to not get eaten by predators or hopefully not get eaten. And these spines can prevent them sliding down the throat of an animal like a big bird or a snake or something like that that would eat them whole, right? Now, if it's an animal like a bird of prey, that's not really going to be the case. A hawk or an eagle or an owl is just going to pick them up and rip them up. Sorry, Debbie. Bad news. Good news is you'll never have to worry about that because you live with us. But in the wild, birds of prey are the main predator for a bearded dragon. In the wild, they live in Australia. The snake was from Africa, if you don't remember. The ball python's from Africa. Lots of predator choices there, and definitely not as rough of scales, right? So their tactic is to hide and be underground and hide their head underneath their body. Hopefully they won't get eaten. Look like a rock, be the rock. A hissing roach, their main way to stay safe is by hissing or hiding or running away, maybe climbing, maybe dropping down out of a tree, depending on where the predator is, right? These guys have the tactic of blending in during the day. So they'll be out and about during the day hunting, looking for food, looking for greens, looking for all kinds of things to eat. And they'll have to hide during the day as well because that's when they're out. So they kind of look like the environment. So they do use camouflage to an extent. And then if they do get grabbed by a predator, say a snake or a bird that eats their prey whole, like a heron, or I'm trying to think of other birds that eat their prey whole, a lot of them do, they can actually puff out their body and hopefully prevent that from taking place. Especially, of course, this is an adult bearded dragon. Debbie is an adult female. She's pretty much as big as she will ever get. They might get a little bigger than this. Males do get a little bit bigger than females sometimes, but she's about done growing, more or less. But she didn't start this size. She started about this big. So a little baby bearded dragon from head to tail is about this long. They're super tiny. And having that puffy body and those little spines on their body can really help them when they're super tiny and getting eaten by things like snakes, other lizards, all kinds of animals will eat little baby lizards, right? Do bearded dragons lay eggs? Yes, they do. Bearded dragons do lay eggs. When they have their children, it's usually around, I hope I'm not wrong. We can look it up together later, but a dozen is probably a good number to bet on. A dozen more or less, so 12-ish. I'm sure they can have more than that. I know some lizards can lay a ton of eggs. It's definitely not a set amount every time. Some lizards only lay 2 at a time, like geckos. Geckos will always lay 2 at a time each time they lay, and they lay multiple times. So geckos have far less babies. These guys have multiple, so they can, around a dozen is a good average clutch size. A clutch is a grouping of eggs. You guys, I can't talk today. Little bit. I can talk to a little bit. So these guys are really cool. They're mostly drier region, but they're not always desert. They can live in the forest. They can live in neighborhoods. They can live wherever there's scrub, wherever there's something for them to eat and drink. Excuse me. But they're certainly not a tropical animal. They're not living in the tropical rainforest. I'm going to eat a little cough drop here. Remember, I'm still recovering from being a little ill. I'm feeling much better, but I still have a scratchy throat. Excuse me. At least I remember my water this time. Thumbs up. This is real life. Public speakers. Bane of existence. But anyway, these guys, not tropical. So more dry than the tropics, but they still need, it's not like strict desert where it's just sand and things like that. They're still going to need food to be able to eat. They like to eat whenever they can. As a reptile, though, they don't have to eat every day, but they're not snakes either. Snakes go a long time in between meals. Bearded dragons eat about 3 times a week. Just 3 times a week, more or less. They, in the wild, may eat a little more because it's more sparse for them to find meals. They have to hunt for their meals. They're running around, staying lean that way, things like that. But they're wonderful lizards. In Australia, where they live, they're pretty widespread as long as there's a good area for them to live, and people will kind of just see them often. That being said, though, they do blend in quite nicely with the backdrop of rocks, trees. They climb a little bit. They're not the best climbers as far as vertical climbing, but they could climb a sloping branch or bushes or a sloping rock or something like that. It's not impossible for them to climb, but they're certainly not an anole, an iguana, or a frilled dragon that can climb straight up a vertical tree trunk, right? Right, Debbie? You're so cute. Yes. I see the answer to that question. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining us, my name is Amanda. I had to take a little bit of a cough drop break. It's in my mouth because my throat's getting a little dry because I am recovering from being ill. And that's why I wasn't here last month. But thank you so much for joining us for our usually monthly live stream. Once in a Wild Wednesday. We're happy to be back. We already met a ball python, a couple of roaches, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and we put them away safely before Debbie could get her mouth around those. And now we have Debbie, the bearded dragon, who a lot of people really love bearded dragons. And all of our animals today that are joining us on the live stream, we've got 2 left after Debbie, are all animals that you can hold, certainly touch, and meet super up close, maybe for photos, cuddling opportunities, photo opportunities, holding, learning about, as always, with the once in a wild appearance of your own in person. And if you can't join us in person or you're not in our area of San Antonio, Texas and surrounding cities, which is where we are, Once in a Wild Mobile Zoo is in San Antonio, you can always hire us for a virtual experience as well, or join us over here at Once in a Wild Wednesday for our live streams, which we do also rebroadcast, usually once a week, if I'm not wrong. But this is Debbie. Debbie's a frequent flyer at a lot of our presentations and programs. Let's come closer and take a look at Debbie. She's such a pretty orange and brown color. Did you know that bearded dragons, kind of like chameleons and other lizards like iguanas and many others, can actually change their color? And they don't change their color for what you may think they change their color for. It's actually mostly for communication and for temperature change. All reptiles are cold-blooded, which means they are not able to regulate their own body temperature. And when I say that, it doesn't work automatically like us. So we are endothermic. That means our body temperature can adjust itself unless we are sick, like I was before, right? When I was ill, I had a little bit of a fever, right? If you have a fever or you have a chill, you might have like a virus or something like that, or your body's fighting off something. These guys don't have that ability to do that, and they don't regulate their own temperature internally. They're actually going to regulate their own temperature externally. So they're ectotherms. We're endothermic, they're ectothermic, which means outside. So how they would stay warm, if they're feeling cooler, their body slows down, they won't eat as much, they may not even grow as much. That's how reptiles end up being stunted and things like that. A reptile can become stunted by being too cold, by not eating enough, not having the proper light, by not having the proper vitamins and things like that. That's a lot of things that can affect a reptile's growth, especially a bearded dragon, lizard, things like that. Those guys are super susceptible to all kinds of issues, like I mentioned before, right? But that aside, if they're feeling cooler in nature, they may go to sleep. They may brumate or hibernate, right? They may also just go to sleep for the night. But if they're able to get into the sunlight, bask in the sun, get onto a nice hot rock or maybe a log or something like that, and take a little time to go sunbathing, they can warm up their body, and that's going to help them to warm back up, right? They're feeling too hot, they're going to do the opposite. They're going to go into the shade or maybe take a little dip in the water if they're feeling really hot. But usually this type of lizard will go into the shade or go into the sun or go to sleep or maybe even hibernate, which we call vermating with reptiles. Hope that makes sense. But these guys, they have to regulate their temperature like that. What can actually help them speed that up is going to be changing their color. So these guys could change darker, have a darker coloration to attract more sun and warm up their body faster. They could also lighten their body Sorry, you guys. So my camera lens decided not to, what's the word? The mechanics of the camera lens sometimes don't work and malfunction, and therefore my screen will just stop. So on the main camera. On the phones, thank you guys for being super patient. So anyway, we are back to Debbie. Debbie, what were we talking about? I forget. Temperature change, color change, all the things, right? So essentially they can regulate their body temperature that way by changing color a little bit. It's the same concept whenever we are on a hot summer day and we wear a white shirt or a black hoodie out there in the cold, right? A black hoodie would keep us warmer, not just because of the long sleeves and the hood, but also the coloration. Dark colors will help keep you warmer faster or more as a human, and light colors will help you stay cooler when it's hot outside. Sorry about that. My camera lens decided to not work. So we are back. Okay, Debbie, you did a great job. Debbie is a wonderful animal to meet in person or virtually. If you would like to meet her, please let me know. She's a fun animal to bring, and lots of personality in the bearded dragons. I can see why people love them. I just recommend, if you want a pet bearded dragon, to rescue one. There's a lot of them that aren't even, there's nothing wrong with them, just like Debbie and Steve and some of the other bearded dragons we've had in the past. Debbie and Steve are both rehomed animals to us that used to be somebody else's pet, and they just decided they didn't want them anymore. So that's a great resource for finding a bearded dragon right here. Right here. She's looking at the one in my hand, but there's one on the other hand. There you go. That's a great source to find a new dragon to you. I recommend as well to get an adult bearded dragon, because the baby ones, a lot of times, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Just kidding. Guys, we're having a time today. It's always something on the live stream. I'm a real human with real problems, and it's real life. But what I was trying to say before I got choked up is that a lot of times these little baby bearded dragons from pet stores or even breeders, a lot of times you're taking a little bit of a gamble with raising a baby versus an adult. Because an adult is already going to be established. They're already big and healthy. And a lot of times, too, people will give them away with all their belongings as well. And if you adopt a baby dragon, that's okay if you really want to raise a baby one. It's not my thing. But if you really want to raise a baby dragon or a baby reptile of any kind, you're going to have to upgrade the size of the enclosure and things like that anyway. So a lot of times when you adopt an older one, or like just a young adult even, they're going to have the enclosure and the supplies that they're probably going to live with the rest of their life, if that makes sense. And in general, it's typically a healthier animal and an easier situation for everyone. And they're going to live a long time. These guys live anywhere from 10 to sometimes 14 years. 12 is a good average lifespan for a bearded dragon. Okay, Debbie, before I get choked up anymore, just thinking about you, I'm going to go ahead and let you rest. It is definitely past your bedtime. Anyway, she's so cute. Look at her cute little body, and she's so cute. Debbie, you can see why they call them the bearded dragon. Looks like they have a beard, but it's just scales, not hair at all, right? If they had hair, they'd be considered a mammal like our next animal. Debbie, you are so cute. Have a good nap, and have a good night, Debbie. Debbie the dragon. Okay, we got 2 other animals to meet. And I know our next friend has been smelling the salad, and he has been begging for salad. Oh, that's good. On TikTok. I'm so happy to have more TikTok followers. That's so exciting. I'll have to upload some videos that I took of Rango the other day. I have so many things to share with you. Sometimes I get to spend a little more extra time with our animals here and there, like surprise, surprise, I'm taking care of the animals tonight kind of situation. So a lot of times when that happens, I will try to take videos and pictures of the animals. And I did that the other night. So I think it's time to bring a mammal out. Out of all the collection, this is my favorite mammal that we have. Come on. I hope you love him as well. I'm sure you do. It's Iggy. Can you hear him purring? Oh my gosh, he's the best. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, I need a drink again. Iggy, I know you've been eyeing and dying for salad. Let's give you some. This is a salad fiend right here. So Iggy, the guinea pig. So Iggy's actually a long-haired Peruvian guinea pig. Isn't he just the greatest? So Iggy not only has the best looks, but also the best personality. How can you go wrong? Iggy is a guinea pig. Guinea pigs are a rodent. There are many, many species of rodent. As far as the mammals go, rodents are the most numerous of all this of different species. As far as their family, Rodentia. Rodent comes from their teeth. So dent comes from the word like dentist, dentition. That's a it's a partial word for tooth, essentially. So these guys have ever growing incisor teeth. They have two on the top and two on the bottom, and they chew their food and they chew things and they eat hay and they graze on grass all the time. These guys are awake for 20 hours a day. Guinea pigs are a handful, but they're great animal companions if you want some. I say some because they should be kept in groups or at least pairs. So guinea pigs, rodents, they have to chew on things. For guinea pigs, it's typically them just eating their food, grazing on grass, eating roughage. In human care, they eat not just salad, but lots and lots of Timothy hay and a little bit of pellet. We feed pellet for their vitamins, which is the most importantly vitamin C. And we actually give our guinea pigs oxbow pellets, which are designed for adult guinea pigs. In fact, a lot of them are actually getting senior pellets now because our guinea pigs are around 4 and 5 years old. And we have 2 new rescue guinea pigs as well that I will introduce you to very soon. But I thought I would keep it easy and just bring our old hand over here, our most professional guinea pig that we have for sure. But I do have 2 new guinea pigs named KG and JB, and they are our brand new guinea pigs. So we have actually 6 guinea pigs now. And they all live in pairs together. So cute. But these guys are rodents. They chew on things. Other rodents wear their teeth down and keep them from overgrowing by chewing on wood, chewing on enrichment, things like that. Guinea pigs do a little bit of that too, and it's not wrong to give them toys and wood to chew on and things. But guinea pigs are kind of constant grazers. They almost never sleep. They're up for 20 hours a day. And when they do take naps, it's like sparse little naps here and there, like 5 to 15-minute naps at a time. And then otherwise, they're just up and they're eating and they're enjoying their life, being social little butterflies that they are. So guinea pigs are actually originating in South America, where they come from in the wild. But they, of course, don't look like Iggy. Iggy is very fancy. He's a domesticated guinea pig. And in fact, the original species, the wild cavy, the specific type of wild cavy that domestic guinea pigs come from, is extinct in the wild now. So they come from the Incas actually domesticating them. Those still exist. And in fact, the Incas still have them in farms down there, little farms, guinea pigs. They are farm animals down there and in other places too. So in Peru, that's where they come from, but they also come from the general of South America. There are different types of wild cavy that still exist and used to exist in the wild. Now, he's very fancy. He's got long hair and silky hair, very domesticated looking, of course, right? This is not a wild animal. In the wild, in the past, when the species was still around and other similar species out there now, the wild cavies out there, they actually have short hair. Their ears are more upright. Iggy's ears are pointed down. And most guinea pigs that are domesticated have ears like this. They're kind of like puppy dog ears. And in the wild, they would have ears that stick up a little bit more. They also have longer legs in the wild, or had longer legs in the wild. They're usually kind of a brown ticked color, kind of like a squirrel or a hamster or something like that. A very practical coloration for living in the wild, so you can blend into things and whatnot. Would you like some more? Like I have to ask. Boom. Iggy's the best. Don't fall off the cliff now. Let's put you up more here. You don't fall. There you go, son. So Iggy is our long-haired guinea pig. We've also got Abyssinian guinea pigs, which are kind of like medium-length hair, and we've also got American guinea pigs, which are smooth-coated. He is such a cutie. Excuse me, guys. Again, I'm getting over being sick. So I'm going to take a second. Iggy will steal the show. Yeah. Iggy is one of our most popular animals for sure. Iggy is very, very pettable. He really enjoys people. He's definitely a socialized guinea pig. In my opinion, guinea pigs make great pets for the right family, but they are super high maintenance. They are not low maintenance. Even though they're domesticated, that doesn't mean that every domesticated animal is low maintenance, right? Think about a dog. A dog is not a low maintenance animal, in my opinion. They're actually a pretty advanced animal to properly take care of. Same thing with a guinea pig. They're not a dog, but they do have pretty extensive care. We care for all 6 of ours with twice a day cleaning, constant feeding. They get veggies in the morning or when they come on programs like this. And they also get fed throughout the day with their Timothy hay. They're always grazing on that. They get their pellets in the evening. We brush Iggy once a day at least. As you can see, he's getting brushed again. We usually brush him in the morning. Iggy gets a weekly bath because he's special that way. He has the long hair. Most guinea pigs do not need a weekly bath, but the long-haired ones do, in my opinion, need a weekly bath, or they have to have their hair cut because it drags in everything and gets very, very messy. They must be brushed every day or else they get very, very matted and tangled. In fact, twice a day is even better. He does get a shampoo bath and also conditioner to keep his hair nice and silky and smooth and easy to brush. There are many different types of domesticated guinea pig breeds. There's so many, I don't even know all of them. I think there's like anywhere from 12 to 15, depending on who you ask. I'm sure there's new ones as well. Some have kind of more curly, puffy hair. Some have silky hair like Iggy. The Peruvian is definitely my favorite breed, mostly because of Iggy. Most of the guinea pigs you see here in Texas anyway are going to be the smooth-coated, short-coated American guinea pigs and the Abyssinians. Abyssinians are the ones that have like the little rosettes all over their body that look like little faux hawks. And we have two of those. We have Billy Joe, who is my second favorite guinea pig. Iggy is my favorite. I mean, let's just face it. And he's the best. But Billy Joe is our other guinea pig that lives with Iggy, who is very sweet as well. And then we have Noodles, who's another Abyssinian. And then our American guinea pigs are Dexter, JB, and KG. Right, Iggy. Iggy is very special, though. So every now and then, people will want to rehome their guinea pigs as well. And can you believe that Iggy is another rehomed pet that we adopted from somebody else? I cannot believe that they didn't want him, but I'm very grateful to have him. He's actually one of our favorites. Iggy's a super interactive animal. You can put him on your lap and take a photo with him and cuddle and pet him. You can meet him at a meet and greet where he's just hanging out and you can just pet him and meet his friends. He will happily just sit there and let you pet him. And he's just wonderful. A great ambassador animal for sure. Very fancy. He looks like a show animal. He is such a cutie. I agree. Now, I do think guinea pigs make great pets for families. I wouldn't just say for kids because kids, I don't know if have the amount of responsibility to take care of guinea pigs unless they're older kids, of course. But they are very gentle animals. A lot of guinea pigs are a little... Aww. He's so vocal. Guinea pigs are very vocal animals, very social. They do get their name guinea pig from their pig-like vocalizations. They can squeal like a pig. They can also snort a little bit. But what he's doing right now is purring. This is called purring. They can do all kinds of noises to talk to each other with their voices. They also talk to each other with their body language like most animals, right? And they live in herds together in the wild and should have a friend or a little herd in human care as well. Now, not all guinea pigs get along wonderfully with each other. Every now and then you'll have a guinea pig that doesn't get along very well with other guinea pigs. You just want more because you're perfect. Come here. Over here. Over here. Turn around. You gonna make me turn you around? There you go. There we go. Not all guinea pigs get along, just like dogs are social, but not all dogs like each other. So you have to make sure that they're okay together before you put them together all the time. Most of them do. I've heard that males are a little harder to bond. I have all males, and they all have, you know, it's a pair of each little group. So there's 2, 4, 6. There's 6 total, and each one has a friend. We used to have a group of 3 in a group in a single guinea pig, and that was Billy Joe. But I decided recently to pair up Billy Joe and Iggy here. So now they're in a pair, and they're doing great. But that is something, definitely a little bit of a process because they can fight. I've heard that males are a little more of a challenge to pair up together or put in a group, and then females are a little easier. So if you're a beginner to guinea pigs, first of all, you have to determine the gender of your guinea pig because you don't want male and female together because they can have a ton of babies right away. Guinea pig babies are very large as well. So females cannot really have babies into their older years because they can actually pass away from trying to give birth because those babies are too big. It's very interesting. Baby guinea pigs are born fully haired. They are not nude like most other rodents are. They're able to run around and they start eating solid food very, very soon. And they can even breed very soon. So you have to make sure that you know what you're doing if you have guinea pigs, and you have to make sure that either a vet or an expert for you can actually determine their gender for you. 2 males usually get along great as long as they're paired up correctly. Females tend to get along even better. We're just getting all the salad today. He doesn't usually get this much salad. Can they eat berries? Bearded dragons can eat berries. Guinea pigs can eat berries. Oh, here's a question. What's what's the animal you don't like in the wild, but you like since you own one? I don't know if there's any animal that I don't like in the wild. I think animals definitely have their place in nature, and that's all of them. Wild cavies, bearded dragons, whatever they are. All animals have their own place in nature, of course, right? But an animal that I don't like to work with is primates. Primates are not my thing. And that's just my opinion. Definitely not. They're definitely more of a specialized type of animal. An animal I don't like in the wild, I think it goes backwards. I think an animal that I worked with in person would give me a stronger opinion than a wild animal, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So primates are definitely one that I don't really enjoy working with. The primates that I do like are prosimians, like lemurs and things like that. I do like lemurs. Lemurs are a lot easier to work around and work with. I just like their personality a little better. Other type of primates actually scare me a little bit. Let's just give you the rest. That way you're not trying to climb off the cliff over here to get the salad. How about that? Come over here. It's over here. Iggy. Good job. There it is. He found it eventually. It's hard for him to see with the comb over. Yes, primates can be very dangerous. Some of the smaller primates, like tamarins and marmosets, I don't really mind those guys either, but I wouldn't necessarily like want to work with them again. Prosimians like lemurs, I do like them, and I wouldn't mind working with them again. That would be a pretty neat animal to have for once in a while someday. Now, primates have their own challenges, such as disease swapping and protective equipment that you have to wear around them to not make them sick. As I mentioned, I'm still getting over being ill, so I would not be able to be around those primates if I am contagious. Good questions. What kind of hair product does this handsome boy use? Good question. We actually use Burt's Bees puppy shampoo on our beautiful boy here because it helps to not hurt his eyes if he happens to get any shampoo near his eyes. We're always super careful, of course, and he's a great little guy for his bath. He doesn't mind at all. He's actually super great for everything. we really hit the jackpot with this guy. But we use the Tearless puppy shampoo from Burt's Bees, which has like moisturizing aspects to it. It's very, very good for their skin. It doesn't dry them out. And then I actually use either what is it? Garnier is what I usually use, the conditioner from Garnier for humans, or I'll use whatever conditioner we have that's for humans. And we'll leave the conditioner on for like 5 to 10 minutes and then rinse it off. That's what I recommend. And his main secret is going to be getting daily brushed, and then once a week bath and conditioner. Good question. Now we're getting some questions. I'm happy to have them. You think the only hedgehog I like is Laverne? My hedgehog favorite currently is Linus. Linus is my favorite hedgehog I've ever been around or worked with. Linus, the male hedgehog that we have right now. And we actually have a new hedgehog that I'll bring on the show sometime. She's a little sassy though, so she may not want to be under these lights. But we'll definitely share some photos and things. And her name is Lucy. Lucy and Linus. And Laverne, of course. Well, that's a good question. I love y'all's questions and comments. Iggy, you've eaten all the things. Can I scratch your cheeks? You're showing everybody your best side, which is your hind end. So beautiful. A lot of people think that he's a wig. We'll bring him to an event sometimes, and people will see the hair and think, is that a wig? And I'm like, no, it's not a wig. And then they're like, oh, another comment we get is, which end is the head? Which I guess is valid. I do recommend guinea pigs for the right family. Like I said, I just think that you guys need to do your research, and the very best way to adopt guinea pigs is from a rescue. There's actually a rescue here in town in the San Antonio area called Second Chance KV, and they typically have guinea pigs that are already paired up and like each other, which is super awesome. That's one of the hardest things to kind of battle if you're new to guinea pigs, is finding guinea pigs that like each other. So they might even have a trio for you that like each other, or a pair that already like each other. Or if you just want one, they might have a guinea pig that doesn't get along with other guinea pigs. They will need extra attention if they're single guinea pigs. But it gets along with everybody. Human or guinea pig, right? He's staring off into space over here. I'm not sure what he's looking at. Could be the ghost in the studio that we had last time. Such a cutie. Indeed. How many babies can guinea pigs have? They only have a few. Anywhere from 1 to like 4. I think 4 or 5 would be like the maximum. I could be wrong. I'm not a breeder at all, but I know they only have like a couple at a time, like just a couple, because they are born very large and they're born super developed for a rodent. Most rodents are not born like that. Most rodents are born super duper underdeveloped, or what we call altricial. Altricial is the word for underdeveloped young. For example, a parrot. A parrot is a super altricial baby. A kangaroo or opossum is one of the most altricial babies in nature. These guys, guinea pigs, are born very, very lively, eyes open, fully haired, usually running around pretty fast. They're kind of like if a horse has a baby colt, right? They have their babies pretty much running around pretty fast, right? Deer are the same way, right? The babies come out, they're haired, they have their eyes open. You need to go potty? Is that your problem? You need to go to the bathroom? We can let you go to the bathroom. You're very sweet. Now, Iggy's a very, very social guinea pig, even with humans, but that is not super common. But most guinea pigs are at least sweet, and hardly any guinea pig will bite you. Okay, that's what makes them popular. Okay, Iggy, you did great. Can I set you down? We can go with this whole pillow down to the ground. And by the ground, I mean your little safe spot where I've got you. He's in a temporary enclosed situation down there. Okay, you guys, for the sake of us not losing battery and the sake of me not losing my voice, I think it's time to move on to our last animal friend. Now, I will have to walk out of the room and go get him because he's out of the room, because otherwise he would have been way too noisy for everybody and would have caused quite the commotion. Let me hide all these things. He would have caused quite the commotion in the studio, and that's because he's a bird and he's a noisy bird. So I think this lecture looks pretty good. What do y'all think? I'm going to go get our bird, and I shall return in just a moment. Please be patient. And this will be our last animal of the night. I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. We usually bring on 3 animals, but I thought I would go big and bring 5 today. So I have 1 more left. I will be Hey everybody, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. We have our little bird friend down here. It's Evie the cockatiel. It's been a minute since Evie was on the show. You want a little treat down there? Can people see you? Not very well. Let's see if we can adjust. We're always adjusting and evolving. So this is Evie. He's a cockatiel. Cockatiels are in the parrot family, and they're closely related to cockatoos, which are the bigger version of the cockatiel, right? So cockatiels are a species from Australia. And Australasia is where you can find all the cockatoo family. Cockatoos and cockatiels are in the parrot family, right? Parrot grouping, if you will. And they're the ones with the mohawk. They have the crest on top of their head. Good boy. So he's got a beautiful crest. We are definitely going to turn down our brightness for him. I think it's too bright. You cannot even see him. There we go. He is very hungry. So we're going to keep on, we're going to try to keep on feeding him. Here you go, kiddo. And his favorite treat is millet seed, which tends to be a favorite of all cockatiels that I've met anyway. As long as they have tried it, they love it. So he is like I said, an Australian native, just like Debbie. Debbie was an Australian native too. That's where you can find wild bearded dragons and wild cockatiels. Cockatiels are flock birds. That means that they live in big groups together for safety in numbers, because they are quite a tiny little guy. This is a parrot, one of the weakest bites of all the parrots. Most parrots have an extremely strong bite. These guys have an extremely weak bite for a parrot. Now, he could still bite me, and it might pinch and hurt a little bit, but compared to other parrots that have a very strong, bone-breaking bite, this is not one of them. So their main way to stay safe is to hide in numbers. And as you can see, his coloration doesn't really blend into nature. It's gray, sure, so I guess it could blend into the cloudy sky or just in general, I guess. But how they blend in really is with the group. So this is a flock bird that would want to live in a big group, and that is how a lot of smaller birds do as well. And for parrots that are smaller, they tend to live in big flocks as well. He is just so hungry hippo today. Now, he is eating seeds. That is generally what they eat in the wild. In human care, they're not going to eat a ton of seeds. They're going to eat things like, or they shouldn't, I should say. Some people do feed exclusively seeds, but that can actually lessen the lifespan of your cockatiel. Cockatiels in nature are flying all the time. They're traveling. They're moving around to find their food, and they're burning a lot of calories that way. And nuts and seeds have a lot of calories, and so they can actually get quite chunky and fat pretty fast in human care if they're not flying around enough and not exercising enough. Look at you go. But seeds are a treat for Evie. And these millet seeds aren't really high in calories compared to other seeds, but we don't want to feed an all-seed diet in captivity or as a pet, right? So these guys, I recommend a pellet diet like Rowdy Bush or some other really high-end parrot diets. Super easy to feed. They love it. Cockatiels tend to like the crumble version. Can't see him down. He's down here. For whatever reason, cockatiels like the crumble version of that Rowdy Bush pellet. That's got a lot of nutrients for them. And we also recommend feeding vegetables as well. We do a vegetable chop. Chop is like kind of a term for vegetables for pet parrots and zoos and things like that. It's chopped up real fine, almost like seeds, for them to eat it right up. We tend to do broccoli, a little bit of sweet potato, or some sort of matching vegetable there, and yellow squash. And we also do greens sometimes as well, like dark leafy greens. We can also do a little bit of millet in their vegetable chop as well. But you can do all kinds of different, you can feed all kinds of different vegetables to your parrots as long as you do your research. Look at these guys. It looks like we have answers to some of the questions out there, and I apologize because I have a very busy bird I have to concentrate on. Now you might be wondering, Evie, can he fly? Evie, can he fly? Yes, he can. He can fly. I know it's kind of a small window of what you guys can see, but Evie can fly. We're in a room right now, which is our studio, and sometimes Evie will fly to me when he wants to. Evie, not very much room in here, but Evie is fully flighted. We keep our cockatiels fully flighted. We've got Evie, we've got Sunny, who most people know. Sunny's our most frequent flyer for our cockatiels going on programs, including virtual, but Evie does a good job on virtual too. Where was I? I think I was talking about diet and things like that. There's many things to research for a pet bird. Please do not impulse buy a pet bird. They are very advanced and hard to take care of properly. These guys need a lot of things. Do you want to see yourself in the mirror, or do you want snacks only? Okay, we're going to talk to yourself. Yeah, you're very pretty. Kisses. Evie is a male cockatiel, so he does talk. He's actually a pretty good talker for a cockatiel. Cockatiels aren't known for their talking ability, but they can talk. Yeah, good boy. And you're also very beautiful. Now, what's the difference between male and female? Male cockatiels are more talkative and noisy and more charismatic, I would say. I prefer the females because they're a little easier to work around and work with. They're a little more laid back. That's just my preference. But male cockatiels are really fun as well. They're noisier, they screech more, they definitely talk more and mimic. And Evie's learned a lot of words, especially for a cockatiel. How old are you now, Evie? You gotta be 4 or 5 years old, and you've learned more words all the time. And they'll pick up whatever you say often and what's easier for them to say. Evie. Somehow Evie has missed learning how to say his own name, but he says a lot of the names, and if he does it, I just don't notice it. If he says a lot of the names of the other animals, though. Evie, good boy. He does know his name, though. Now, male cockatiels don't look too much different than females in the wild, especially. Still too bright. You're bright enough. There we go. That's better. Just for this segment, we'll turn it down, I guess. Females and males look very similar, but they do have differences if you know what you're looking at. But that is, again, to blend into each other. They're not super different looking in the wild. There are tons of different colorations and patterns that you can find in captivity with cockatiels that have been bred into them. But in the wild, they're pretty much going to look like Evie. He's a wild type cockatiel. They're gray. They have white on their wings. They have a yellow head and orange cheeks, right? And they're all going to look super similar. Females will have less orange on their cheeks, but they still have some. And females have a little less yellow as well. So they'll have more gray. So if you know what you're looking at, you can probably tell the difference pretty easily. But they all generally look alike, so they can blend into each other and look like the flock. That is another tactic that a lot of flock birds use, is by looking like each other. Get away. It's right here. It's right here in my hand. There you go. Oh, did that one not have any meat on it? Here, get rid of it. Go away. Maybe I should bring him like a little perch to sit on when I bring him on virtual. Do you want to talk to yourself some more? Come here. Who's that? You don't want to talk to yourself? Evie, you're so cute. What a cutie. If you'd like to meet Evie in person, you can certainly request him or Sunny. Maybe even Dandy. Dandy's still learning. Evie, you've eaten everything. You're going to get your full dinner later. All right. Let me know if anybody has questions about Evie. Now, again, in the parrot family, most parrots are very loud animals. Cockatiels are not super loud, but they're still noisy. There's a difference between noisy and loud. Loud is like volume, and noisy is like frequency of making noise, right? So cute. Thank you. Mirror again. Let's try it. No? What do you think? I think he's more interested in food right now. He's hungry. I know. What do you think? Now, cockatiels as well, the males will be a little more active. They do a lot more courtship behavior. Females do their own courtship behaviors too. That's the main way to actually tell the difference between them, besides doing a DNA test. If they're a different coloration than the wild type, that's hard to tell the gender, right, of a captive cockatiel. Come here. There you go. Good boy. He's losing his attention span over here and looking at the screen over here. But these guys do have a totally different personality, in my opinion, male to female. So that's my easiest way to tell a difference, if they have like different coloration. For example, our other cockatiels are females, but they're also fully yellow with the orange cheeks. They're Lutino cockatiels, which is not the wild type. So we wouldn't be able to tell but just by the color. But the personality is totally different. Our females are a lot quieter. They're a lot less demonstrative with their posturing and their body language and things like that. And females will exhibit different behaviors than males. So if you know what you're looking at, it's pretty easy to tell. We have 2 females and 1 male. Evie has really bonded with Dandy, our other little female cockatiel. And Sunny, of course, has bonded to me. So Sunny really likes me the best. But Sunny is a super sweet cockatiel. Evie or Sunny, I think, potentially could go to an event and pretty much be held by anyone. As long as you have a treat or snack for them, they'll be happy to be your best friend for the day. So Sunny especially is a good candidate to go to programs. Can I ask him to say a word, or does he do it when he wants? I can try to ask him. We'll see what he does. What would be a good cue for you? Can we do a spray bottle? The spray bottle? Shh, 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 shh. Can you do it? So he may do it in the mirror. So once he eats this treat, one thing that he knows is to mimic a spray bottle. We are working on cues for him to get him to speak when I want him to speak. Now, he does have his own cues. So if I'm doing something in the room, cleaning up, flicking on lights, spraying a spray bottle, he will mimic those things as well. If I'm on my phone, he'll mimic the texting sound that I make. He will do the Twitter noise, things like that. Let me do a spray bottle. It's been a while. He'll definitely do it when he wants to. Who's handsome? Wolf whistle. That's an easy noise for him to mimic. Can we do a spray bottle? He's done it before on other live streams. That's one of his favorite things to do. But I think he's distracted because he's hungry right now. What do you think? Thank you. Evie. He does say Sandor's name. He says Pikachu. He says all kinds of cool stuff. He's a pretty talkative guy for a cockatiel. Well, that was fun, you guys. And sometimes he will do it when I ask him to. Usually off camera. Now, Evie, we can't turn off the computer yet, okay? And please don't poop on my computer. Say hi to your audience. You can see yourself there. Come on down. Oh my goodness. Good job. Now, I do know the oldest living cockatiel was around 30 years old in human care. That's pretty rare, but they can live into their 20s, and that's quite a commitment. But they are not the longest living parrots by any means. Smaller parrots tend to live less years than bigger parrots. Cockatoos, which is again in their same family group, cockatoos and cockatiels are the crested parrots from Australasia. Those guys can live some of the longest lifespan. So, for example, an umbrella cockatoo can live for like 80 plus years, and that's a huge commitment. And I do not recommend an umbrella or any cockatoo for any beginner person or anyone for that matter. Cockatiels are great family members, if you will. I think that cockatiels make a great pet bird or companion bird for the right family, but they certainly are still a lot of care and maintenance. We take very, very good care of ours, but they're not easy. And we also have multiple, so they have each other for company too. If you have one cockatiel, they can get quite lonely and they don't do as well as with a flock. In my opinion, cockatiels are some of the easiest to have multiples of them and them to get along. All of ours get along great. A little too well sometimes. Anybody else have any questions about any of our animals today? Evie is a wonderful little cockatiel. He's going to be our last animal. So handsome, thank you. He sure is. Oh my goodness. Who was everybody's favorite animal? We had Iggy the guinea pig, Evie the cockatiel, of course. We had the hissing cockroaches. We had Debbie the dragon, bearded dragon. We had Prince the ball python. All wonderful animals. And again, all of our animals today are possible for you to not only have at your own event, but all of these are touchable, holdable to guests. Right, Evie, come here. As you can see, Evie is very socialized. Evie doesn't just like me. He likes pretty much everyone. In fact, I don't think he has any preference to me at all. He's known me the longest, but he is hand-raised. So he is super socialized from hatch, from birth. And he is, he thinks he's the boss of the bird room, but we all know who the boss of the bird room is. Who do we think the boss of the bird room is? Is it Iggy? Maybe Iggy's the boss, the low-key boss. Snakes are your favorite? Yeah, snakes are really fun. Now, a lot of our animal ambassadors are a little more creepy crawly than like Iggy or Evie. Evie and Iggy are kind of universally loved. I even think the bearded dragon, most people love bearded dragons too, right? Come on. Good boy. But we also love bringing the creepy crawlies like snakes and bugs, and we can help people to understand and maybe even fall in love with those animals. You'd be surprised. It happens every day. Okay, you guys, it's been a whole lot of fun. I think Evie needs to come on more programs. Maybe we'll just do a whole live stream, like a bonus live stream with just Evie, or maybe all the cockatiels. That would be fun, all three of them. What a bananas idea that is. But I think it would be fun. They all get along great. They all love seeds. So I think they would participate, and they're super comfortable on virtual. So I think that would be fun. Sunny is usually the one that we bring on in-person programs, but Evie can go too, I think. You'd be a great candidate. You're very, very motivated nowadays. So let me know if you would like your own animal encounter. Also, please stay tuned to our social media like Instagram and all of them, really. Whatever social you like, we're on it. We're on TikTok, on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, obviously. It's been a lot of fun tonight. I need another drink. Don't want to scare you, Evie. Do you want some? Sorry, guys. Again, I'm getting over a scratchy throat, so I do apologize. But we're at the end. If you guys want to see what events are coming up, public events, and if you want to schedule your own private event, that's great too. We've got some public events coming up you can join us at. Most of them are going to be ticketed, or some of them are free. Stay tuned to our social media is what I was trying to say earlier before my voice went away. Social media is where you can find out where we're going to be, what date, what time, if you need a ticket, things like that. If you need more clarification, feel free to bring it to go ahead and leave a comment, go ahead and leave a message, ask us, feel free to call us anytime. If you need anything at all, reach out. You can always request a contact and we'll contact you in return and we'll get you taken care of. But we do have some events that we're coming out to you in the San Antonio area. We would love to see you very, very soon. Well, I think, Evie, it is time to go because I'm losing my voice rapidly as we speak. And I hope you guys enjoyed. If you'd like to support us and you love what you see here, the best way to support is by joining our programming. You can either hire us for your own private program. That's a great way to help out. But you can also donate. We have donation options as well. Those are listed down below. And we have Venmo, Cash App, all kinds of things. We even have a Amazon wish list where we have items specifically for Evie and all the rest of the animals to enjoy and food and things like that. And there are many other ways to help us out. So please let us know if you need any more information or clarification on anything at all. And we would love to hear from you soon, and we would love to see you next time. Okay, guys, we're going to play our song and say goodbye.
We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. And that's the fun for me and you.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for having patience with me as I work through all of our technical problems and human problems and animal problems. It's never a problem. We love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And we'll see you guys next time.